Hello, hello! Welcome back to Brenda's Books. Thank you for coming back to listen to more of Queen Andraya. Today we are on Chapter 32. Here we go. Chapter 32. The Path to the Shaft. Zelda, what has happened? Why are you here? Stefan asked. Let us talk somewhere else, said the princess. She slipped her dagger back into the scabbard on her waist. Then she held out her hand for Stefan to help her to her feet, which he did. Follow me, said Zelda. Stefan, Andraya, and the others followed her past the ghostly crowd. When they reached the end of the alley, instead of curving around to the next one, Zelda led them straight into a yellow field, down a small hill, and onto a dirt road that looked like it would eventually run into the gold mines. There stood a lone hawthorn tree, with its branches of yellow and green draping low to the ground. Zelda led the group into the shade, then abruptly turned around and asked the queen, "Who are you?" Queen Andraya cocked her head. "Are your questions usually demanding and impolite?" Zelda smirked. She took in Andraya's height. Then she studied her face. She looked to Stefan, then a quick glance at Benjamin and Hudson. For some reason, it was Maurice who seemed to confuse her the most. "Prince Stefan, who is this?" Maurice flushed a little, but said with confidence, "Maurice Gidner, your highness." He gave her a very polite bow. Without acknowledging Maurice at all, the princess turned to Stefan and asked, "Why are you traveling with Sandrian subjects? I expected you to come with the queen and her bodyguard, and maybe even the lord you have thrown at Caleen," she said, pointing to Benjamin. "But how did you get a true Sandrian commoner to come with you?" The queen's mind raced with a flurry of questions, but she chose to ask the most important one. "Where is Caleen?" Simultaneously, Stefan and Benjamin asked something similar. "She's meeting with the group who is planning the slaves' revolt. But do not worry. For her own safety, I warned her not to mention to anyone else that she knows the Queen of Chaldrea, and she agreed to do so." "What on earth are you saying?" cried Andraya. "Take us to Caleen." Zelda cracked a wicked grin. "Are you always this demanding and impolite?" Andraya smirked back. "Only when necessary." Zelda's eyes narrowed. She took off the black shawl over her head to reveal an immaculate braided hairdo. "Caleen did your hair," Andraya noted. Zelda beamed. "She insisted. It is dreadful enough to have to wear these horrid clothes. I could not bear to have my hair wild as well." Andraya sighed as if this were ludicrous, although she secretly agreed. "Where is she?" "She will not be back for hours," the princess hedged, waving her hand with an air of self-importance. She walked to the trunk of the tree and leaned her back against it. Impatience squirmed through Andraya's gut. Why was she being so ambiguous? "Then we will go to her. Why will you not answer my question?" Andraya snapped. Zelda sighed heavily. "She is underground. It is a ghastly experience down there. Besides, they will not allow you to come in once their meeting has started." Stefan spoke next. "I see, princess, that you are still skilled at saying a lot while not really saying anything at all." He flashed her a sarcastic smile. Zelda turned to him in mock shock. "And I see that you still have the same list of my faults that you used to carry around in your pocket." Stefan groaned. "That was 10 years ago, Zelda. We were only 15. Zelda put a hand to her heart, feigning adoration. "You said we." Stefan cocked his head in disapproval. "Oh, that is right. You are in love with the queen," she said, miming a shiny light over her head. "A sure way to get your lifelong wish of being king." Stefan gave Andraya a fleeting glance before narrowing his eyes at the princess. "You even learned her Chaldean language. How sweet," she said, in the same sappy, sarcastic tone. Then the princess spoke in Sandrian, gesturing to the queen occasionally and putting a mock adoring hand on her chest. The longer she spoke, the more animated she became, and the more Maurice's shoulders shook with laughter. "Excuse me," Benjamin blurted. Zelda stopped, and everyone turned to face him. Benjamin took a deep breath. "Your Highness," he said to Stefan, then turned to Zelda. "And, Your Highness, may we please focus on finding Caleen?" "Yes, please," Andraya and Stefan said in unison. Zelda rolled her eyes. Then she studied Benjamin. "You are not at all like the Lord Caleen described." "I am not a lord, Your Highness. I only want to find Caleen." Zelda lifted a finger and scrutinized Benjamin some more. "Tell me, I pray, how are you acquainted with Miss Caleen?" "No," Andraya cut in. "You will tell us how you are acquainted with Miss Caleen. Then you will tell us where she is and how we can find her before you say anything else." Zelda folded her arms across her chest. "I can easily refuse that. And I can easily refuse to give you back your shawl. So you will have to let your hair down like a commoner." Andraya grabbed the princess's shawl from off the ground and put it on her own head, tying it around her chin. Zelda blanched. "I can get that back from you." "I beg you to try," said the queen in a stern voice, with a fleeting glance at Zelda's petite frame. Zelda clenched her teeth, then inhaled a deep breath. She looked to Stefan for help, but to Andraya's great pleasure, he was staring at her with admiration. Finally, Zelda slid her back down the trunk of the tree and sat at its roots. "When the slave ship came in from Chaldrea, I could see that one of them had never been anywhere but a palace. I know how that feels. So, amidst the crowd and chaos, I snuck her away to my own hiding place." She opened her arms to their surroundings. "You did something nice for someone else," Stefan said, sounding truly surprised. Zelda gave him a look of disapproval before going back to her story. "She told me who she was and who her best friend was." Zelda shook her head as if this news was ridiculous. Then she shrugged, and we got talking. I told her I was the princess and how I was the only surviving royal in the palace fire. Zelda's pretense faltered a bit as she swallowed hard. Then she told me everything about her home, how Prince Stefan of Deldria is in love with you. She rolled her eyes. "And how you have been trying to force Lord Martin into her life, and that the three of you, along with your overprotective bodyguard, would most definitely come looking for her. But I guess you came in place of Lord Martin," she said, pointing to Benjamin. "And I have no idea why you are here," she said to Maurice. "Maurice is an old friend," Stefan explained. Zelda rolled her eyes again. "Of course he is. Anyway, I told her that the slaves were organizing to rise against the merchants. They are getting courageous, you know, ever since they witnessed the Sami people fight against them." "Was that the battle we saw on the fields next to the palace?" Stefan asked. Zelda nodded. She now held a blank stare on her face. "Caleen wanted to join in the planning to help the slaves. They meet in a secret shaft that the slaves built. But I cannot go there since I might be recognized as the princess. And some have very strong feelings about me. Anyway, they plan on revolting in 3 days. But it is a lost cause. The merchants will win." By the time she finished, Zelda's voice was just a whisper. "Can you take us to the shaft?" Stefan asked. Zelda nodded. "But you are all too clean. You will not blend in, especially you, Stefan. I doubt anyone on this island has blonde hair like yours. They will know you are Deldrian straight away." Stefan pointed to Hudson, whose dirty blonde head did not even compare to his own truly bright blonde hair. "I can get a handful of dirt that can remedy that," said Andraya. "Unless you want to borrow Zelda's shawl," she said with a smile. "I will take the dirt, thank you very much," said the prince. Andraya grinned. Then she scrubbed some dirt onto Stefan's head until his hair was a thick, dusty brown. Once they were sufficiently filthy, the group followed Zelda through the meandering dirt roads and down a steep hill where they reached the gold mines. "May I have my shawl back, please?" Zelda asked. Andraya handed the princess her shawl, then unbundled her own hair so that it flowed down her back. Heat rushed to her cheeks. Only Caleen had ever seen her with her hair down. "I like that look," Stefan whispered in her ear, which only made her blush more. "I must sneak back when the shaft is found. I cannot risk being recognized," Zelda reminded them. "Now, look tired, all of you. Then the slave masters will think we have just come back from carrying a load." That was not hard for the queen. Her feet already ached from Bopsy's horrible shoes, not to mention how famished she was, and she did not want to faint here of all places. The group meandered in and out of the rock tunnels with burning candles along the way that gave them light. Finally, they halted at what looked like a dead end. "Look busy," Stefan whispered urgently in her ear. Andrea glanced at the ground and picked up a small tool that she could not even name and had no idea how to use. "What's the meaning of this? Why are you just standing there?" said a gruff voice behind them. Andrea's heart jolted. She did not know why, but she knew this was not good. "She's just tired, sir," a man said in a slurred, pinched voice. "I'll make sure we get the area cleared." "She must do her part," the man growled. "She's been doing it, sir. Look," the pinched voice said. He pointed to something on the ground. Andrea was surprised to see from the candlelight that it was a pile of gold. But she was more surprised to realize it was Stefan's finger that was pointing to it, and it was his voice she was hearing. A low, gratified rumble escaped the man's throat. Andrea could not see him well, but she knew he was big. "I want to watch her work," he sneered. Andrea's heart accelerated with fury. Then Stefan whispered in Medianese, "Just hit the wall with the tool. I will take care of this animal." "What sort of gibberish is that?" the man boomed. "Just talking to myself, sir," Stefan said in his pinched voice. "I want to watch her work. Hold the candle for me." Stefan lifted a bowl full of hot liquid wax, with a burning candle inside it. Andrea knew he had a plan, but her anger could not wait for it. She grabbed the bowl from Stefan and threw the hot wax into the man's eyes. He yelped in pain. Just then, Stefan slammed the man into the rock wall, and not a second later, Hudson slammed his fist into the side of the slave master's head. "Come on!" Zelda yelled. She was pointing to a hole in the wall that had not been there a moment earlier. Andrea spotted the rock to the side that had been its door. The group crawled into it, leaving the unconscious slave master behind. And that concludes Chapter 32. I hope you come back next Thursday for Chapter 33 of Queen Andraya, and I hope you have a wonderful week. Until next time, take care.